Welcome to the Champ de Mars Arena, the epicenter of wheelchair rugby at Paris 2024. And fittingly, the epicenter for the sport that makes courts quake. Such are the collisions and the highbrow strategy employed. It is the big one, semi-final time between Tokyo's two finalists, Great Britain and the United States of America, both vying for a gold medal berth once more, but this time in the French capital. Kevin Bowie of Canada and Liam Costello of Australia, the two men charged with overseeing what promises to be an epic duel. The path is set, and it is one that sees Japan await at the end in the gold medal match. They defeated Australia earlier today, and they will battle out for bronze. It is time to introduce the reigning Paralympic gold medalists. Great Britain.
Number 2, Jonathan COGGAN. Number 3, Stuart Robinson. Number 5, Jack Smith. Number 6, Dave Ross. Number 8, Nick Cummins. Number 9, Ollie Mangion. Number 10, Tyler Walker. Number 11, Kieran Flynn. Number 12, Jamie STEAD. Number 13, Aaron Phipps. And number 14, Daniel KELLETT.
Great Britain in blue, looking to reach the final for an opportunity to defend their Paralympic crown, led by Gavin Walker. And with the striking threats of Stu Robinson, Aaron Phipps, and the low point precision of Johnny Coggan and Jack Smith by and large, with the man who'd led them to the gold in Tokyo, Paul Shaw, MBE, at the helm. They're yet to taste defeat. Victory over Australia, Denmark and France in the narrowest of fashion last night has set up this semi-final showdown with the United States of America.
Number 8, Sarah Adam. Number 10, Josh Wheeler. Number 11, Lee FREDETTE. Number 15, Josh O'Neill. Number 21, Clayton Brackett. Number 23, Brad HUDSPETH. Number 44, Zion Redington. And number 55, Mason Simons.
The USA is seeking to end a 16-year gold medal drought that dates back to Beijing, and Eric NEWBY and Chuck AOKI will look to lead them to it. Joe DELAGRAVE was in the team that claimed silver in Tokyo 3 years ago. Can he be the man to lead them to one place higher on the podium after victories against Canada and Germany, but defeat against Japan, who awaits them in the final?
nationale des États-Unis.
Please remain standing for the national anthem of the United States of America.
Tokyo repeats itself at the Paralympics, but this time in Paris, it's at the semi-finals. Two powerhouses of the sport, GB and USA, lock horns once again in a bid for medals at the greatest show on earth. My name's Joe Burns, and I'm joined for this epic encounter by Drew Lilly.
Absolutely fascinating matchup. Seeing the Great Britain lineup, the typical high-low, Stu Robinson, Aaron Phipps, 3.5 pointers, Jack Smith and Johnny Coggan, 0.5 pointers. So the absolute high-low, the kind of thing that Australia plays as well. And we saw them not quite getting past a slightly more balanced lineup in Japan, and that's exactly what the United States have got. Chuck AOKI, a three-pointer. And then you've got Sarah Adam in there, a 2.5-pointer, and that allows USA to play a more balanced lineup. They can have 8.5 points out on the court at any one time. So they're going to start with 3, 2-5, 2-5, and a 0.5. So it's going to be interesting to see the contrast in styles between two out-and-out high pointers, Robinson and Phipps, and how they come up against a more balanced lineup.
Well, these two nations come in with interesting psychology surrounding their routes to this point. It is the USA who have come here undefeated, having tasted defeat rather, against Japan in the group stage, whereas GB, who many might have said, despite the Paralympic crown, came here slightly less fancied after an underwhelming cycle since Tokyo. But it's they who've beaten Australia, they who've beaten the host France under extreme pressure from within this arena. And they've also taken the scalp of Denmark and are undefeated. Plenty have travelled across the channel. And this arena has been explosively noisy from the first blast to the last in nearly every match that we've seen here at Paris 2024. The semi-final is upon us. Great Britain versus the United States of America is underway at Paris 2024 in the semi-final of the wheelchair rugby. Great Britain in blue through Jack Smith score the opening try.
The great thing is usually you have to tell the casual viewer, don't always watch the high pointers, look at all the work that the low pointers do. And the very first try is scored by a low pointer, so illustrating the point there.
First try scored by Great Britain, but as a result from that tip-off, it will mean that the USA will have the first possession of the next period should nothing change in the game. And just to clarify some of the conversations we were having about the point system applied to the athletes out there, you can see them denoted by the tags at the bottom of the chairs. The higher the player's functionality in terms of their quadriplegia, the higher the score they have. So Stu Robinson, highly functioning. Johnny Coggan, less functionality, but that is not to say they're any less effective in their denoted roles within the team.
It's interesting on attack that GB have had their 2 high pointers coming very, very deep, getting and taking inbounds, and then you're having one of the very low pointers being free and picking up. So 2 tries scored so far, one by Johnny Coggan, the other one by Jack Smith. You never see that, so it's obviously a tactic to get the low pointers free, and something that USA won't be expecting to have to defend against.
But it's a brilliant blocking line there from Aaron Phipps. He came in on the angle and he nullified the attentions of Chuck AOKI and Sarah Adam. That's what allowed his fellow high point pal, Stu Robinson, to get across the line.
A set play being called there. We'll see what it is.
GB pressing high up to the key to try and make it as sticky as possible to get out of the half. You've only got 12 seconds to transition across the centre line, but once it's in that man's hands, it usually ends in a try.
USA setting up in a key defense, so 3 of them are allowed in the key at any one time. That's the painted blue area that GB are approaching now. Forces your opponent to come to you. And it means usually the impetus is taken away from them, but if you've got someone of the strength, the torso, the core strength, upper body strength of Stu Robinson, then he can usually bash his way through.
Just to re-emphasise the point that you were making earlier, Drew, the only reason that Stu Robinson could squeeze through that gap was because of the work that Jack Smith had done to neutralise the defensive threat of Sarah Adam. And this time, USA going over the top. AOKI and Wheeler combining. They are such a potent pair, these 2 from the USA. Robinson looking to twist AOKI inside out, and Phipps gets in on the try-scoring action.
That's the advantage of the 2 high pointers. They're obviously the fastest and strongest players on the court, so if you can get the ball in their hands, in their laps, then 9 times out of 10 they are going to be able to outpace their opponents. GB setting up in the key defense as well, often called the European defense because it's what the European teams tend to prefer. Look at that, everybody in and around the key, and a timeout called by AOKI.
Now, Chuck AOKI forced into the timeout there by virtue of the pressure that was being applied, not just by Phipps, but collectively by the quartet of GB. And there were 21 seconds on the shot clock. I wonder if someone was trapped in the key for what may have been beyond 10 seconds, which is a violation.
I think it was Sarah Adam who's looked like she was going to be stuck in the key.
So these timeouts are important. There's 4 for the players, 2 for the coaches. The player ones can be called on court and they're 30 seconds. They're largely used as a get out of jail free card, if you will. The coaches ones, a little bit longer. You'll see actual tactics disseminated. But here we see it used because USA didn't want to risk a turnover. It's a great take by Adam, who was traveling one direction, reaching low to her left, and then had to resteady herself with the contact coming.
Adam is a double threat. A, she's a female player, which means that USA can play an extra 0.5 out there. B, she's been reclassified. She used to be a 3-pointer, and she's been classified down to 2.5, but still has almost the function of a 3-pointer. So it's as if she's a 1-point gain for them. Classification isn't definitive, it's always ongoing, and you have classifiers who are here watching tournaments, watching this tournament as well, and evaluating the players to make sure that their classifications are correct. So Sarah Adam used to be a 3, she's now a 2-5, so it's almost like a 1-point gain for her team.
Key defense being employed by the United States. And the human cannonball, Stu Robinson, goes hurtling into those USA chairs, taking out Adam, absorbing the attentions, and it frees up the space for another try from a low-point individual.
Try machine, isn't he? Jack Smith, he played all 32 minutes of the most recent group game for Team GB when they defeated the hosts, France. Huge hit, and Sarah Adam says, I'm going nowhere.
Sparks fly, and Stu Robinson goes cartwheeling.
You don't get to say that very often, do you?
Well, the US bench are loving this.
Sarah Adam with a bit of a wry smile there, a bit of a chuckle to herself. When you've got arguably the best 3.5 pointer in the world coming at you and he just bounces off you, then you're going to feel pretty good about yourself.
Yeah. Sarah Adam won, one of GB's big boys 0. But it's all about the scoreboard in the top left come the conclusion of 4 periods. It's try for try at the moment, and Adam does it both sides of the ball, doesn't she? In D, in attack, a real asset. The first woman to represent the USA at wheelchair rugby at the Paralympics.
See USA's mid-pointers swarming around Phipps there, and they force the turnover.
First turnover of the match, scooped up by Josh Wheeler after Phipps found himself going down a blind alley. He's going to try and make amends alongside COGGAN. That's really well played by those two in tandem. Adam frees herself up. Wheeler will try and find his own room, but AOKI has just ghosted into that gap. GB making USA work extremely hard. To the North Americans converting that turnover.
Phipps' pass, I think it might have been slightly deflected by AOKI, and that's why it didn't reach the intended target.
Well, Phipps is the next to be sent airborne. Great physicality from the US.
US lining up in the key. Mexican standoff. Robinson's going to take a run at it.
Well, there was a lot of tension building there, but Stu Robinson made it look all rather easy, didn't he?
Well, it's like in soccer, he sent the goalkeeper the wrong way. Everyone expected him to go to his left, and then he dropped the shoulder and went to the right.
Well, Sarah Adam has just scored, but take a look at Josh Wheeler. He's in a press-up position, and he's only got one wheel attached to his chair. And he's got a grin as wide as the Cheshire Cat. He loves this kind of conflict.
That's the thing, when you're going up against a team that's going high-low, obviously the high pointers, the 3.5 pointers you're up against, they're very quick, but they're incredibly strong. They're people who've got, they're usually quad amputees, so they've got real core strength and upper torso. So if you can take it to them physically, knock them about a bit, then you're showing that you're not going to be overwhelmed by them.
Jamie Stead is on to the court. He was the youngest member of the gold-winning squad for GB in Tokyo. So Phipps is taking a bit of time on the sidelines and a bit of a different composition to the GB team alongside Nick Cummins, who's also on.
Well, it's GB going for their more balanced lineup rather than the pure high-low. You've still got Stu Robinson, Johnny COGGAN out there, but with Cummins and Stead, you're going 3-5, 2-5, 1-5, and 0.5.
The sweet sound of air leaving a tyre after a big hit. We'll have a pause for an equipment change. There's no lack of appetite for destruction out there in the early exchanges, is there?
Well, it's level on the scoreboard, but with that turnover, you'd say that the wind is in the sails of USA. It's not in their tyres, as we heard there, but the wind is in their sails, and the fact that they've got such a balanced lineup, particularly Sarah Adam, that 2.5-pointer that allows them to play. They've got two 2.5-pointers, so the top end of the mid-pointers, and they've got so much function out there. 3 really good ball handlers, 3 people who can really push and accelerate quickly, and people who can do good inbounds, as we're seeing from Adam. So Team GB, Paul Shaw, the coach, will have decided to change things around, because you can't just have the high-low and try to combat that when you've got 2 high pointers and 2 low pointers. You've only got 2 real ball handlers out there, whereas USA have got 3.
Placard goes up from the GB bench. A. Instructions only they will know. Stu Robinson ordinarily only knows one way. Blast of the whistle here, and the USA bench celebrating because GB they've had to call a timeout, I think, because they didn't think they were going to get across the centre line.
I don't know whether he called the timeout. Yes, he has called the timeout. There was no symbol, but he did do it verbally.
So GB already burning 2 timeouts in this opening period, a testament to the pressure that USA are exerting upon GB at the moment. A lot of thinking for Paul Shaw to do. What a venue, by the way.
It's wonderful, isn't it? We've got the statue of Field Marshal Joseph Joffre, which is usually just in a park in Paris, and a stadium has been built around it. It's absolutely fantastic. USA say they shall not pass.
Stu Robinson threads the needle. Great movement from STEAD off the ball. You cannot overestimate the accuracy at which these internationals play the game. I think a lot of us are spoiled in terms of the wheelchair rugby that we get to see regularly, the likes of USA and GB. But if you go down to the club game, the error count would be so much higher. The accuracy is unreal from these athletes that we're seeing out here, and that's why turnovers are so precious, and they're so celebrated, and so too turnovers, which, once again, as you said, Drew, is like a mini turnover in itself.
Yeah, that's another timeout that had to be called by Jamie Stead there. He was absolutely boxed in. It was Wheeler who was letting him go nowhere. There was no way that Stead was going to get the ball over the halfway line safely. He could have thrown a bit of a hit and hope out there, but you don't want to be doing that against USA and in the first quarter. You don't want to burn your timeouts, but they're there to be used, and it's far better than an actual turnover. So as long as GB convert this into a point, they won't feel too displeased. But USA forcing GB to take 3 of their 4 floor timeouts already, they'll be incredibly satisfied with that.
Rashida Robinson converts. Does he convert? Yes, he does.
He did. The USA were concentrating on trying to get Jack Smith over the line, which would have forced a turnover, and he managed to put the brakes on. So credit to Jack Smith there for Stu Robinson's try.
Phipps reaches in to try and steal from Adam. Chuck AOKI surrounded. He does have Jeff Butler unattended, but instead it'll be Wheeler to AOKI, and AOKI will do the rest. 37.9 seconds remaining in the first period. Nice race by, hasn't it?
Certainly has. The board being held up by USA that you can't quite see says magic on it, so that's a set play for them in terms of defending. They decided not to try to run down the clock. GB are going to run down the clock here because there is no shot clock, it's merely the match clock. So they want to score as late as possible and not have the ball in the hands of USA. They want to get the last score of the quarter.
It's absolutely crucial for GB that they get this last score, because the first possession of the second period will be USA. So were they to not score, then USA with that possession could take a 2-try lead. And do you know what? USA have managed to repel them.
It's a turnover. I'm trying to work out why it was. It wasn't the shot clock, and unless Robinson's going to the bench for a reaching foul, which he doesn't appear to be, I think he forgot to bounce the ball. It might have been that. He was that. He got Chuck AOKI for company, and AOKI's going to keep that in his lap, and they have the lead at the first break.
Well, USA have come out firing. A turnover and a denial of GB late in the period, a possession to kick off the second. They lead by a try, 12-11, with 1 period played. Well, incredibly driven from the United States of America in that opening stanza, and you can see there that steal proving critical, and the turnover against GB's name. That's why USA have got this lead. And really, USA right on top in every department, really.
An incredibly balanced lineup, and I keep saying it, but Sarah Adam, worth her weight in gold. She's such a good player. She's very much at the top end of 2.5. She's worth about 2.7, and she allows them to play 3 really strong ball handlers. Obviously, Team GB, they've got a couple of the best 0.5 pointers in the world in Jack Smith and Johnny COGGAN. But when you've got 3 excellent ball handlers out there, then it's incredibly difficult. You don't know where to look, you don't know who to mark. And then that final turnover there, I can only surmise that it was not bouncing the ball. You have to bounce the ball every 10 seconds, and Robinson had got such, there he is being having that big hit from Sarah Adam. He was so focused on trying to get past Chuck AOKI and focusing on the shot clock, I think he just quite simply forgot to bounce the ball.
There is an awful lot to consider, both player and coach, in a match of wheelchair rugby, particularly with the stakes as high as they are. A semi-final, a gold medal match awaiting the victors. And the Great Britain support looking to rally their team as they come up against the might of the USA, the might of Adam, of AOKI. And a few vociferous neutrals in the crowd as well. Well, there's nothing neutral about that outfit. That's as star-spangled as it gets. Second period about to commence in the semi-final of the wheelchair rugby at Paris 2024. USA leading GB 12-11.
GB having made a couple of changes, and Kieran Flynn and Gav Walker have come on for them. Flynn a 2-pointer, Gav Walker the captain, another 2-pointer, so a very balanced lineup for them, 3-5-2, 2.5. And USA sticking with the 4 that have taken them thus far and given them a 1-point lead that may well be about to turn into 2.
There's a bit of an inevitability about the way that USA are attacking at the moment. Their passing game so strong. And you mentioned their mobility, but they're so good at moving into space and connecting and combining. And at the moment, they are snaffling every scrap that GB give them. Captain Gav Walker unable to reach the ball from Robinson, and Wheeler electric across the court. Surely not. Back-to-back turnovers for the United States. This is huge.
Well, it's 42 seconds into this quarter, but you'd be tempted to take a coach's timeout here. The GB bench were barking out instructions during the 3-minute break between the first and the second quarters. And whatever those instructions were, they don't seem to have sunk in.
GB already with a bit of a mountain to climb. With less than a minute of the second period played. They will trail by 4. Yet to score in this period.
You see Robinson in the sin bin there, bottom right, for a reaching foul, and everyone's swarming around him because he is the most dangerous player on the court. So if they can keep him off court, then that's what they're going to do. And they're going to force him into inbounding. Now, he's been released, but they've made changes, United States, so...
Changes for the United States. Clayton Brackett in his first Paralympics wearing 21 is partnered by Josh O'Neill. Another on Paralympic debut in Paris.
Now, Lee Fredette has gone into the bin there for USA, and that was because he was too close to Robinson. You can be within a metre. You've got to allow players a metre either when they're inbounding or when they are coming out of the sin bin. You can block them, but not too close. And so that put Fredette in the bin.
And Robinson delayed scoring because he wanted his teammates to lock up Chuck AOKI, which they did so successfully. So he nominates himself for the inbound. GB are looking to manipulate the manner in which the USA carve their way out of their half, and they've just about got across there through Brackett. And then they get the call from the whistle. Contact with the arm. So, Kieran Flynn of the Leicester Tigers heads off to the penalty box.
It's all got a little bit scrappy in this second quarter. It started off with USA forcing a couple of turnovers, and it's got a bit desperation stuff almost from both teams, really. USA coming out with what you could call a second string lineup, and we've had various players going into the sin bin. Hasn't got into a rhythm, but that really isn't going to bother USA. It's Team GB who find themselves 4 points adrift, and they're the ones who need to get into a good, smooth rhythm, score some easy tries, and try to put some pressure back on USA.
But conversely, Chuck AOKI is having the semi-final of his life here. Another turnover. And another opportunity ruthlessly executed by the United States. And now the coach's timeout comes with GB in real peril.
It has gone downhill incredibly quickly. A couple of seconds before the first break, Stu Robinson was all set up to make it 12 points each. He ended up committing a turnover, and since then it's been all USA. GB have scored 1 point, USA have got 5. The coach's timeout will be to reset, and it's also enabled GB to make some changes as well. So Cummins and STEAD back on.
Robinson came with real fury in the wheels there, didn't he? He's not happy with how things are going at the moment. Dishes it to STEAD, who gets the job done. I mean, as things stand, GB, they need turnovers, they need steals, and they need plenty of them. And it's going to allow USA to defend in a riskier manner because the pressure's all on GB. And they're going up high, and they're targeting Stu Robinson, aren't they?
Well, that's why they've brought STEAD and Cummins back on, to have 3 ball handlers out there.
Fabulous work from Butler, who is really making a nuisance of himself. USA keyed up, invites GB and Stu Robinson to go full throttle at them, but there's no way through. Still, they look for the avenue. Cummins is there. It's well crafted in the end.
Gives you more options with a more balanced lineup. You can have mid-pointers who can get themselves free when you've got a very tight key defense. If a little spot opens up, then someone with mobility can get in there and give you an option, and that is what Robinson had there. Sarah Adam, the mobility and the speed that she's got.
That may be the case, but you know, undeniably the line of preference for GB, the one that they would say is, you know, their go-to is the high-low.
It's strange that Phipps we haven't seen any of him as Cummins gets over the line, gets the ball just before his casters roll over there. Yes, you would expect Phipps back on sooner rather than later. And once we pan past once the play develops here and we go past the scorers table, we will see that in the substitutes box, Phipps and Smith are ready to come on next time there is a dead ball.
Well, it's bright eyes and can't lose at the moment from the United States. But there is a bit of that rhythm being re-established in the match now. We've managed to get away from bouncing either side of the center line. But still, USA are really making GB toil for every try, and the ball goes free again. Presumably off Chuck AOKI, because Jamie Stead seemed unflustered.
Well, the ball has gone out and gone dead, which enables GB to bring on Smith and Phipps, so at least there's that. However, USA were never really in possession here. It bounced off a USA player, but it doesn't reset the shot clock. So time is of the essence here for Great Britain.
Sends his blockers forward, tries to go round the side, and it is brilliantly worked. Great deception. Smith just coasted through, didn't have anyone on him. AOKI and Wheeler, that telepathy that can be so devastating for opposition teams is highly functioning at the moment. And as a triumvirate, Wheeler, Adam and AOKI, GB can't live with them at the moment.
Illustrates the advantage of having a good female player in your squad, as that ball is going to go loose.
Miscommunication there. Phipps went over the top and he was expecting Robinson to race onto it. But only Jack Smith was there, and he doesn't have the pace to retrieve a ball like that. One more turnover against the GB name. They already trail by 5. It could be 6 in a moment.
GB setting up in the key to defend. USA lead by 5 points, and when you defend in the key, it takes time out of the game. It's usually something you do when you're in the lead and trying to run down the clock yourself.
That's some tape by Mason Simons, who wore it on his face initially there, before managing to get the pass to stick and reverse across the line. And GB on this occasion go long over the top. This time the Phipps-Robinson connection does bear fruit. 2 minutes and 40 seconds of a first half that has rattled on. And we're coming up to the golden 2-minute mark, the time where teams begin to employ all the tricks of the trade in manipulating the game clock so that they might be the team to score last.
Great Britain 6 points adrift. They need quick scores. They need a score, they need a turnover, and they need to make sure that they get the last score of this first half.
It will be their possession to start the third period. That's something, a little kernel of optimism to have in their minds. But Chuck AOKI looks faultless at the moment.
He's got 7 points surrounding him here. Is he going to be able? He's got to bounce the ball. There we go. And the fact that you've got more ball handlers, Phipps.
There we go.
It.
Contact to the arm from Wheeler in his desperation to make up for the ball being dislodged. So it will be GB inbounds, and Wheeler will be dismissed to the penalty box. So first real moment for GB to sing about in the whole of the match.
It's 4-on-3. It's 8 on 5.5. So this is the turnover that they needed. They're going to manage the clock a little bit and score. Are they going to score around the 1:15 mark? They can score pretty much whenever they want to, because it's 8 versus 5.5.
And in the midst of all this, some preemptive defensive tactics are being run as well to make the inbound as challenging as possible. Mason Simons is there, and it's a flagrant foul, by the way, on Josh Wheeler. That's why he's still in the penalty box. So it is still 3-on-3. And it ricochets off Jack Smith, and can Johnny Coggan get there? No, he can't. But 12 seconds has elapsed, and GB get another turnover.
This really is all turning around. This is better than they could possibly have dreamt. Wheeler's going to be in the box for another possession. USA would love to ride out the time here, but this has completely changed the complexion of the match.
And I guess the flagrancy of the foul was the cynical nature of it on the grab, with Phipps looking set to storm away. The consequences have been grave for Wheeler and USA. It's opened this match right back up.
So now it's 3-on-3. Smith has gone into the bin, I think for a reaching foul. And that's exactly what GB didn't need.
Oh, the wheels were across the line before Mason Simons took the ball. So an error from USA. Simons received it fine, but it was deemed that his wheels had hit the try line before he claimed it. Goodness me. How many twists and turns can you have in a closing 2-minute period? I mean, we've only had 70 seconds of it.
It's 3-on-3, but it's 7.5 playing 5.5. So the advantage is very much with Team GB.
Simons isn't happy with something, gesturing to the referee. Robinson to Phipps. They're always going to unlock a defense that is under-resourced like the United States. Robinson back on, and here GB are going to work the clock. They're not going to use a timeout, that's for sure, because they've already burnt 3.
They are going to back themselves to defend the last few seconds. And they've turned this around. It was a 6-point deficit. It's now down to 2. So it's been classed as a flagrant foul by Smith as well, a deliberate handling foul. Wheeler picks it up. Aoki's going to get down there, take his time going over the line, but he's going to be forced over by the 2 high pointers.
Jack Smith is back on.
Can GB score in the remaining 7 seconds from now? Can USA hold them out?
Robinson to Smith, but he'd already left the court. .2 seconds for the US here. Now, ordinarily you'd say that's not enough time, but how many times have we seen the US go coast to coast?
Well, the awkward thing is it's a corner inbound. It's not a regular inbound, so they're just going to stick it in their lap and sit on that 3-point lead.
What do you say about that period? So many twists and turns, the pendulum swinging wildly to the US at the start, but a bit of momentum garnered by GB in the closing minutes. And while they still trail, the damage has been significantly mitigated. And at half-time, here at the Champ de Mars in the semi-final of the wheelchair rugby, it is Great Britain 21, USA 24.
The fact that Team GB halved the deficit with 2 minutes to go. 6 down. 6 is absolutely pushing the limits of thinking you'll be able to come back. And then deemed to have been a flagrant foul by Wheeler, and all of a sudden it changed the entire complexion of the game. The last 2 minutes there, neither coach is going to be happy with that. The ball was being thrown around left, right and centre. Players in the sin bin making the kind of mistakes that are going to come out when you're under that kind of pressure. I wouldn't have expected it from USA, and enormous credit to GB for halving that deficit.
It was the nightmare start for GB at the start of the period. Not only did USA drive their possession advantage home to open up the lead to 2, they only led 12-11 coming into the period, and at one stage it was 17-12, and then the margin widened to 6. That was the pressure, that was all of the rhythm being with the United States, and Chuck AOKI key in all that. GB didn't have an answer, but a key moment came after GB found a little bit of rhythm. Phipps and Robinson beginning to combine, and they were varying the attacks a little bit more, not giving Chuck AOKI all his own way. The flagrant fouls were key. They are what changed that period, and that's what sets us up for a thriller of a second half, with GB trailing USA 21-24. Look at the steals. USA well on top. So too on the turnovers, but many more twists and turns await us in this semi-final.
Allez, mesdames et messieurs, il est sûr et certain que vous allez assister à une deuxième période, enfin la troisième et la quatrième carton de feu ici, 24-21 en faveur des États-Unis d'Amérique. Mais tout n'est pas terminé, tout n'est pas terminé. Et on va se faire un petit concours de tribus, juste pour voir si vous êtes toujours là avec nous. Cette tribune ici, on va l'appeler la tribune numéro 1, ok? La tribune numéro 1, est-ce que vous m'entendez? C'est bonne chose. Tribune ici, la tribune numéro 2. Numéro 2, vous entendez? Ok. Ici, la tribune numéro 3. Numéro 3, vous entendez? Et vous l'avez compris, la tribune numéro 4. La 4, faites du bruit! C'est très bien. Quand je dis 1, la tribune 1, vous faites du bruit. La 2, vous faites du bruit, ainsi de suite. Vous avez compris le stratagème. Attention, ça fait 1. 3. 2, 4, 4, 5,
The second half of the semi-final between GB in blue and the United States of America in the wheelchair rugby at Paris 2024 is back underway. What a topsy-turvy first two periods we enjoyed. USA stretching out to a 6-try advantage at one stage, but a flagrant foul to the tune of 3 tries from Josh Wheeler of the USA, turning the contest on its head and dragging GB back into it.
Well, both teams have gone back to the well and returned to their starting lineup, so that's the archetypal Team GB high-low of Robinson, Phipps, Coggan and Smith, and the incredibly balanced lineup for, oh, got rid of that, and it's been called a spinning foul there.
Well, that was some look that Stu Robinson gave the perpetrator, who was Jeff Butler. Squeezed the ball away despite the floor coming up hard and fast on him. And a spinning foul is when you strike the wheels of an opposition player behind the axle. So it's dangerous, it's not about power, that's unfair unbalancing. And Jeff Butler's gone to the penalty box. Jack Smith bounces the inbound.
Not too bad a foul for USA, it's just a 0.5 pointer who's off, and it occurred when GB were in possession anyway. So USA going back to the lineup that they began with, which is AOKI, Wheeler, Adam and Butler. So they can play 8.5. They've got a 3 and 2 2.5s.
Oh, wow. That's one of the hits of the Paralympics right there. Butler, again, is tough as teak. Almost cemented on the court. That's twice now that she has been battered into by some of GB's biggest men. And she's decked them both.
Well, for those of you wondering why play wasn't stopped, it was because USA were in possession. There was no foul anywhere. It was just a full-on hit. And since AOKI got the ball and then went directly to the try line, he was allowed to continue. But yes, take nothing away from Sarah Adam. Absolutely incredible play and sheer strength, as well as the skill that she's been showing. That's both of Team GB's high pointers that she's knocked off their wheels.
Off goes Chuck AOKI.
He's another one who, the classification, you think 3.0? I'd give him at least 3.2. The speed, the push that he showed there. I know Japan have got a lot of good three-pointers. France have got an excellent pair as well. But AOKI could well be the best three-pointer in the world.
And the thing about AOKI is, you know, we're rightly lauding his pace and his power, but he is a master tactician as well. He's someone that, in the heat of battle, when it's chaos all around, seemingly has a mindset that is elsewhere. And that ball goes through the grass of Jack Smith, and I think he leaves the court as well, does he? In overrunning.
We'll see which way the inbound goes, but yes, the inbound, it's an awkward corner inbound, but it's going to be for USA, and it must have been Smith who left the court. So a turnover for USA, the first turnover of the second half. And that was a big one because GB had a lot of impetus.
Not what they needed, GB, but just what the doctor ordered as far as USA are concerned. AOKI, ever the calm port in stormy seas, dishes it up to Adam.
Well, you'd have thought at half-time that Coach DELAGRAVE would have said, guys, we were 6 points clear. We gave it away with a cynical foul that was adjudged to have been flagrant, and we're still 3 points to the good. let's stick to the game plan. Let's get the A team, the big first line back out there. And if we just stick to what we were doing earlier, we can re-establish the lead. The advantage of the high mid-pointers there, all three of them, AOKI, Wheeler, Adam. You've got that many outlets, that much trunk function, being able to lean in and out and pick up a pass that isn't necessarily the best, but your teammates know that you're going to be able to grab it.
That was low-key class from Phipps, wasn't it? He was racing at some pace towards the touchline, collected the ball, dropped the anchor, invited two big hits on him, and then still found the perfect pass to Robinson. Oh, Sarah Butler finds herself toppled. So we will halt proceedings. Sarah Adam, I beg your pardon. Jeff Butler, of course, is in the ranks. This is the one and only Sarah Adam.
Someone's knocked her off her wheels. That takes some doing, doesn't it?
It does.
Aaron Phipps and Stu Robinson will
two have had a go. Third time lucky.
It means the ball is dead, and it's enabled Team GB to go back to one of their more balanced lines. Off goes Phipps and Coggan. On come STEAD and Cummins. No foul, it was a legitimate hit on Adam, so it's still 4-on-4.
No way through for Chuck. Can they hold him in?
It ended up being a penalty try. Either way, it's a point for USA, and the lead is 4. 10 seconds in which to inbound, and STEAD gets there to help out Cummins.
Big pressure high up the court from the USA. AOKI working hard as a trident with Butler, with Adam, with Butler too out there, and of course Josh Wheeler. Wheeler receives. Nowhere for him to go, almost leaves the court as well. And he manages to stay in as AOKI arrives to bail him out. Oh, so composed from Wheeler, just allowed the ball to bounce and slip into his grip.
Cummins did a great job of wrapping up Adam, but you've got so many outlets. This line is a triple threat for USA. 3 ball handlers. Speaking of ball handlers, that was great play there from STEAD, reaching out. Didn't try to grab it, just brought it down because he knew he'd got time.
Wheeler successfully cuts out all of the GB defense, and AOKI latches on. 32-28, GB in need of a turnover.
USA go back to the key, taking time off the clock. Be a little bit of trash talking there from Tyler Walker on the bench.
Well, it's just planted into the lap of Jamie STEAD, and he just rides his way through. That's one way to do it.
Yes, it wasn't a pass, really. It was past the parcel, wasn't it? It was putting it right in his lap. AOKI there, avoiding the sideline on one wheel and getting the pass out there to Wheeler.
Mention Tyler Walker. After the anthems, he was shouting to his teammates, who wants it more? Who wants it more?
He's had very little court time. He's obviously there to be the cheerleader. He's a a high pointer, so he's going to be the future of the team when either Robinson or Phipps decides to hang up the wheels or the headband. Sarah Adam's always going to have the wheels to outpace Cummins, not necessarily STEAD.
STEAD gets unsettled. Dummy coming in from Adam. He rides the contact nicely. Oh, wow. It is fluid from the States. It's classy stuff, isn't it, from the United States? They're worth this 4-point lead.
They really are, and I mentioned Chuck AOKI is arguably the best three-pointer in the game. You have a best-in-class at the end of every tournament, and 2.5, you can't look past Sarah Adam, what she brings to the team, and the fact that she allows the team to play an extra 0.5 as well, and you can have this huge lineup out there.
Josh Wheeler's chair has been decimated by Stu Robinson there. I've never seen a wheel disconnected from a chair quite so quickly.
That's a couple of times that he's popped the axle from the other side as well.
No points for disassembling, sadly, for GB. There's their on-court leader, their driving force. He hasn't had it all his own way thus far this evening. He expects huge amounts of himself, demands the most from Stu Robinson.
That was an absolutely incredible inbound there from Butler. He's 0.5 points his classification, and the inbound that he managed, you'll rarely see a low pointer give such a good inbound. Waited for the pathway to open and then fired the ball in.
Into the final 2-minute period, USA leading by 4. They will have the first possession of the 4th and final period, so it is paramount that GB score last in this period.
Well, I'll see if I can bring it about again. I'll say what I said with about 2 minutes to go in the second quarter. GB need to score quickly, get a turnover, and get the last score.
Well, they could do with a flagrant foul from one of the US players again. Oh, he leaves the court. Josh Wheeler, does he? Or is it timeout?
Timeout called, I think, because he knew he was about to leave the court there.
Ah, Stu Robinson did really well, didn't he?
The timeout was actually called by Butler because he could see that Wheeler was going to be forced off court. So that was incredibly well done. You can call the timeout. It doesn't have to be when you personally are in possession of the ball, but it has to be one of your teammates. Who wants it more was that was what Tyler Walker was asking there. Everyone's asking who wants it more. Tez Walker, Tez Shaw, Joe DELAGRAVE, Sarah Adam, Kieran Flynn. Everybody trying to motivate everyone else. So the awkward thing here means that it's a corner inbound, but it's better than losing the ball.
And the other thing is that USA aren't just wealthy on the scoreboard, they're wealthy in terms of timeouts. They've got 2 coach ones, they've got 2 player ones remaining, as opposed to GB, who are in a 1-on-1 situation.
They haven't been shown a timestamp, USA. They've been shown a board that says BOS, so they've been told to, they've been called, the Boston play's been called. 4 in the key, so that is a penalty try.
Bit of energy has gone out of GB's zip, hasn't it? They need to rediscover it with 1 minute and 2 on the clock. Oh, that is such a risky ball. But it was a bullet piercing the USA defense right into Jamie Stead's grass. Big play that.
And they scored it with 58.7 seconds to go. So USA can't run down the shot clock and then take a timeout and make it 40 plus 15 seconds. That would still leave a little bit of time for GB. They might have to take a timeout as it is, make sure they don't get pushed over. It was almost an over and back.
Instead, it is Wheeler being harangued by GB players. Chuck AOKI is scrambling. He holds on, transfers it to Wheeler. Can USA score in the 7 remaining seconds they have? Looks like AOKI is going to burn a timeout here. And that's credit to GB. That's credit to the pressure.
Simons out there in place of Adam. Incredible work there from AOKI. And he was also trying to draw a foul, saying, here are my arms, come and reach in and foul me, and GB didn't. So, we're level on timeouts. The only difference is score and possession. So USA 3 points clear. They all have the first possession of the final quarter. But GB still in this.
I think any other player would have been shunted across the centre line there. You don't get much bigger than Mason Simons. He's a former weightlifter and all sorts of sports as a military veteran.
10 seconds to inbound, and here it comes. Yes, if you take the ball back over the halfway line once you've crossed it, it's an over and back violation. They managed to avoid that. STEAD leaves the court, not of his own volition, and it's been decided that USA weren't guaranteed a try, so STEAD is going to go into the bin, and USA will have 8.1 seconds in which to score 4 on 3.
Chuck Melton's onto the court here.
Yes, it's a dead ball, so you can make substitutions provided the players are in the bench, and obviously this will help them on a certain set play. Now the clock starts.
GB are going to have their work cut out to repel Chuck and co, and what's worse than one Chuck, double Chuck. AOKI to Melton, and they get the try that they so crave. GB are just going to hold on to this, and they're going to have to back their ability to muster a miracle in this fourth period. A 4-try deficit. It's not all lost for GB, but USA are in prime position to reach a semi-final.
Great call from Joe DELAGRAVE there, obviously with a couple of seconds to go. He brings on Chuck Melton just for that set play.
End of the third period, and the United States of America lead Great Britain by 4 tries. It's 33-37 with 1 period to go in the semi-final.
Credit to Melton as well. He's had no game time whatsoever, comes out there, is told to fulfill a specific role, muscles his way into the key, make sure he isn't pushed out, and scores the try that gives them a 4-point lead.
Well, the steals to the United States all came in the first half, and that's what's really had the impact on the scoreboard as far as the overall picture goes. The flagrant foul that you can see there from the USA drags GB back in, but as it stands, they still do trail.
Highlights from the third quarter, both teams going back to their original starting lineup, so it was Robinson and Phipps, but Sarah Adam really taking it to the opposition, as she always does. And the balanced lineup giving USA 3 outlets, 3 players with good trunk function, 3 ball handlers as well. That was the ideal recipe. Things obviously got a little bit tense towards the end of the quarter, as they have done in all 3 quarters, really, of this match. Some changes in lineup, and then fast and furious, some timeouts, almost turnovers. But as things stand, USA 4 points clear, and with the first possession of the final quarter. The stadium announcers in the venue have done fantastic jobs, haven't they?
They have. They really have. It's been a performance from them worthy of the semi-final that we're being delivered here with Great Britain trailing the United States of America 33-37 heading into the fourth.
Josh Wheeler with a big smile on his face. He's confident. Away we go.
Fourth period is underway at Paris 2024. The Paralympic Games, the wheelchair rugby, the clash of the Tokyo finalists, USA and GB. On that occasion, it was the Brits who emerged with gold. But right here, right now, it is their transatlantic rivals who are in the box seat, leading by 5 tries and setting upon Johnny COGGAN. And look at that, that is, well, a novel and uncomfortable way to dispossess your own colleague, but needs must in times of trouble for GB.
Reaches round there, pulls him back and says, give me the ball, I'll give it to Phippsy. Johnny COGGAN won't mind that, it's all in a good cause.
I'm not sure that would be, I'm not sure that would be used in a training video.
It's not in the playbook, is it?
Whilst trying to sharpen skills. You hear so many great stories of these players going into schools and rehabilitation centres and teaching people about the ways of wheelchair rugby. You'd hope that that wasn't one of the demonstrations.
Wheeler seems to have kept his wheels this time.
Tyler Walker is going to need an ice bath at the end of this, purely from the energy that he's expended supporting.
Is it because this is a turnover? Is that why Walker is celebrating? Because if Wheeler went to ground holding the ball and didn't call the timeout, then it's going to be a turnover. Pause as Wheeler is brought back up to the upright position. And it is indeed a turnover. So Wheeler taken to ground whilst in possession of the ball and didn't call a timeout. So that's the first of the turnovers that Team GB needed. Adam pushed over the line. They convert it. GB are still very much in this contest.
Stu Robinson arrived just a beat too late there, didn't he? AOKI not a second off the course, but still so much power and pace to evade Aaron Phipps, who's arguably the fastest in the game.
Wheeler slowed him down Butler slowed him down ever so slightly, made him change course, Phipps, and that slowed him down just enough to allow AOKI to get over the try line.
USA very content by employing a key defence. Contact there was extreme, Butler and Phipps. And in fact, Butler's nobbled Phipps's chair. So he gets a call for an equipment timeout, which works out all right because while the clock won't be reset, it does act as a mini timeout.
It does, and it means the ball has to be inbounded again, which can make life a little bit awkward. It means that USA can set up in front of the key once again. It takes time off the clock, which is grist to the mill as far as USA are concerned.
Butler, how good has he been? Flipped over into the grass with Phipps. They really are making GB work hard for these tries. It means they have to take risks, and that creates turnover opportunities. Adam is away. Phipps is just demonstrating that he doesn't have an arm in there, lest he might be called. Adam, brilliant swerve and dish to Wheeler. 2 blue jerseys bearing down on her, and she kept her cool. She found the pass. She has been outstanding.
You can give a best in class already as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely amazing player, Sarah Adam. only made her international debut 3 years ago. Plays for the St. Louis Spartans.
And that is bad news.
Phipps absolutely catapulted over the line there.
Bad news for GB, that. Having got the turnover, as he said. Absolutely not in his wanting to be across that line, and Adam goes off and meets Phipps again. She is a rock.
Butler already took COGGAN out of play early on, and that enabled Adam to get through. And then she goes from one end of the court to the other. She's really come into her own. The first big tournament for her was the World Cup in Denmark a couple of years ago, and she was just finding her role within the team. But since then, come on in leaps and bounds. Has been the standout player in this semi-final.
Well, you mentioned about when she first kind of got into the setup. She hasn't been playing para-sport particularly long generally. It's from a multiple sclerosis diagnosis in 2016, and within a decade, she's not just at Paralympics, that she is a key cog in this USA machine now. Having only made that international debut a few years ago, as you said, she can't do anything about that because the work from Smith and STEAD is too coordinated, and Robinson has free fare home.
USA happy to have their mid-pointers inbounding at the moment. They want to make sure that the ball is given to someone accurately, and then after that, they trust the other mid-pointers, the other ball handlers, to get out of the traps that have been set by GB. They're not giving Butler the inbounds.
Well,
5 points the difference.
Well, they've got tries to play with, haven't they? And they've got time on their side as well. Robinson has a look. There's no room down that alleyway. USA cul-de-sac it again. No dice on the right. Spins back, and still Wheeler won't let him pass. Risky one to STEAD. They had to roll the dice. And you have to doff your cap to this USA side and the obdurate nature of their defense. It has been outstanding. They've smothered GB.
That was the definition of key defense. They filled the key. There was not an inch of space for anyone to get past. Another turnover, and that makes it a 6-point game. It's the biggest lead that we've had, but this time there are only 4 minutes and 15 seconds left. The klaxon you can hear there, coach's timeout, and it's that coach, Tez as he's known, Paul Shaw who's taken it, Joe DELAGRAVE, he'll quite happily make the most of it, and hasn't got much wisdom to impart. He'll just say more of the same.
But more.
More for 4 minutes and 15 seconds. It gives Chuck AOKI a little breather, gets a little bit more resin and gum and gunk, as they call it, technical term, out on the gloves. All the players will refer to it as gunk, and you get a lot of gunk on the court. So that's why we have people mopping up to get rid of that. Back underway, USA in the key, which takes time off the clock.
Yeah, the Volunteers have been working hard, clearing the decks in the breaks between the matches here. Not quite as hard as the USA, though, with their key defense. AOKI swats it away.
He knows he's not going to get possession, but he was never really in. He didn't have control of the ball, so the shot clock isn't reset, so he's already taken a bit of time off the clock, and it forces an awkward corner inbound.
Stu Robinson's going to do it as well. A little bit of court maintenance from the referee. Throws it at Tyler Walker. Not intentionally. Well, the faces of those GB fans let you know that there's a sense that the writing's on the wall a little bit here. Trailing by 4 and just USA unrelenting in their defense. It's taking some terrific play from the GB to score just simple tries.
They got the try there, and it took them 25 seconds. That doesn't work at the moment. Ooh, pick and roll there, not that they can really roll. Adam wrapped up by a couple of low pointers. GB have gone back to the high-low lineup. So cleverly, you had Smith and Coggan wrapping up Adam. But even so, her trunk function meant that she could get a basketball-style pass over the top. And once again, setting up in the key. Makes it so difficult to score quickly, and GB 6 adrift. They need to score rapid fire.
Smith does well to lock up Adam's chair, and this time they score within about 15. That's the equation for GB. They need to score triple quick, and they need to be turning over this US team, who at the moment are scoring freely. GB don't have the luxury of keying up and going into a siege mentality. They need every second as well as the turnovers. They trail by 6.
It's all smiles on the US bench at the moment, as you would expect.
Not just smart, they're conducting the crowd a second ago.
Has Wheeler lost a wheel?
It would be very him, wouldn't it? I think that left side needs a bit of long-term attention. I hope he's tipping the mechanic.
He's probably telling the mechanic, fix it on a bit better.
Well, that's been a personalised service this evening, pretty much.
The amount of time spent on court, I think the mechanic's up there. He's
up there with seconds on court.
USA in the key again. I'll happily do that for the next 3 minutes.
Sarah Adam forced off the court against her will so.
GB ready to make some substitutions.
Sarah Adam is dispatched to the penalty box. The changes come. Gav Walker, Tyler Walker, the young man comes on and he gestures to the crowd to give him a bit of love, and he gets it. And Kieran Flynn too, another man who's making his debut at the Paralympics. Big occasion for Tyler Walker, 20 years old.
Needs to bounce the ball. Or pass it, does so just within 10 seconds, and there we go, gets his first assist. Sits very tall in the chair. It's going to be a great player for GB for years to come. High pointer, tall and great upper body function. Wheeler, how about that? Even when they lose the ball, they get it back.
Oh, the reach coming in there from Tyler. And then the hit from Walker.
Timeout was called because it was a legitimate hit. It was judged a legitimate hit. And AOKI called the final timeout as he was going to ground.
I mean, how quick is the thought process of some of these players? You're hurtling towards the line, you get upended, you cartwheel towards the floor, and your first thought is, better call a timeout.
One timeout left, so he used it very well indeed. Also gives Coach DELAGRAVE time to have a quick word with his team. It's the first time this tournament that Stu Robinson hasn't been on the court when GB are playing.
Walker does his level best to sweep that ball away, but it does find its way into the grasp of Wheeler. Now the USA go up and defend high. They're happy to put pressure on. Walker is going to get his first try for Great Britain at the Paralympics, and he's going to love every second.
He's also knocked the cone out of the way. He was too busy celebrating, but yes, his cheer squad are delighted with that. And then spun around and knocked into the cone. So
I love the chutzpah. Tyler Walker's a character I could get used to seeing on the court, that's for sure.
Well, get used to it, because yes, he is the future of high pointers as far as Team GB are concerned.
Joe DELAGRAVE is the future as far as being a coach is concerned. It's looking like in his first attempt he is going to guide the USA to a Paralympic final. Another final for these Americans who've come so close. So close in years gone by, but no gold since Beijing. It's a long, long time for a country with their pedigree. A country who, despite not inventing the sport, definitely feel that they have a fair ownership of it. The dribble bounce from Walker. He goes long to Flynn, and Adam gets an arm in there. He was ambitious, but GB will retain possession.
Doesn't reset the shot clock, though. So again, this plays into the hands of USA, who are quite happy to take time off the clock.
Gets a bit of help from Flynn there before he gets snarled up by Butler. Brilliant work for the low pointer. Ball comes in from Walker, and the shot clock evaporates.
Butler, the low pointer, managed to get his pick bar onto the front of Tyler Walker's chair, and there was nowhere that the youngster could go.
Adam to Wheeler. Walker's chair rises as he engages in a bit of conflict with Chuck. The movement of the USA has been irresistible this evening. Their ability to move GB around and find avenues to pass through has made the try scoring very free. Walker explodes through the challenges of the States, but it is Adam and the USA who'll be blasting off to the gold medal match. Last 60 seconds of this semi-final that the USA have really dominated from first period to fourth.
Their entourage in the crowd, getting right behind them and enjoying every second of this. Walker spins around, uses his height. Cleverly done. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with, standing that tall, sitting that tall in the chair and having that kind of span.
Ike Yukinobu-like. Well, he links up with Kieran Flynn, who's another for the future for GB, but this is the present. And as far as the USA are concerned, it's looking golden, or at least gold medal competitive. Adam to Wheeler, Butler, doing all the important unglamorous work. AOKI, the leader. And GB in the final seconds as Paralympic champions. And the USA celebrate wildly. One more, the call from Chuck AOKI. They banished the ghosts of Tokyo with a commanding victory over the Paralympic champions who once were GB. Utter dominance from the United States of America. They are heading for a gold medal match. Final score, Great Britain 43, the United States of America 50.
A 7-point margin at this level, at semi-final level, when you've got so many such good teams there, that's huge. So the Tokyo final was 54-49 in favor of Team GB, a 5-point margin. USA came out and decided to redress the balance there, and more, and how. It was 7 points, and without the flagrant foul, it could have been almost double figures. This is a team that's got a gold medal on its mind.